There we go. Okay, I'm starting recording now.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. So, I am Claudius Soul with Datasphere, and I'm here interviewing Dexter Schiller, owner of Shark Mounted Lasers and co-founder, I guess, of Hexagon Mill.
Correct. That's me.
All right.
Oh, internet.
If you'd like to say anything or introduce yourself a little bit more, go ahead.
No, that covers it. I'm Dexter Schiller, fifth of all on the forums, though I'm never really on there. Um, Play a lot of Infinity. That's where you might know me from.
Number one in the U.S. last year.
Last year.
ITS, yeah.
So this year is off to a good start. You're currently ahead of me, so you're
I
getting good.
am. Gotta
Um,
make it difficult for you, Dex.
oh yeah, no, it's more fun that way. As long as the United States dominates the globe, it's our chance
You,
to,
you are doing
find
pretty well right now. I think War Panda is first right now.
correct.
I am third. We have somebody in the international group, I think, is second. I don't think Spain
Yeah.
is in the top three.
No, I think it was
Oh, was
Spanish.
it Spain? Okay.
Was,
Okay.
but whatever the case, it's good to see the community taking off here in the states. Seeing a lot more high level play. Um,
Dire States and all that. There's a lot of events going up in the Northeast actually right now too.
Correct, correct. Yeah, I'll have to make it out to some of those events. The East
If I
Coast
ever
usually
manage. Oh, sorry, what was that?
the East Coast eludes me.
Ah, yes, yes. But we're not here to talk about ITS.
We're not.
We're here to discuss your. Well, I guess we could discuss shark-mounted lasers first. Give our the listeners and watchers a bit of a history on shark-mounted lasers.
Sure, sure. Um, well, I guess in the beginning. No, Shark Mounted Lasers was actually founded out of a arbitrary necessity back in my college days. What it was rooted in is over the summer of my junior year, we had to have an internship or start a business or something to that effect. And I'm not much one for getting someone else's coffee. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna make a business making terrain. So sure enough, I did. I went and got a small business loan, purchased a giant laser, and here I am with shark mounted lasers.
Still to this day.
About, about 2 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's been about 2 years from then. So
That's great. That's great. You've been doing some pretty good and nice and cheap and affordable terrain that's actually quite durable and looks nice on the table with shark-mounted lasers.
yeah, that's the primary goal of shark mounted lasers. Back Feast of Blades 3 years ago, I did a lot of the terrain for it, and it was a pain in the butt because we were doing it all by hand. So that next year we knew we were going to have a lot more people. So we got the request organizers of Feast of Blades that we needed 20 tables worth of terrain.
Oh,
So that kind of went hand in hand with starting Shark Mounted Lasers. I was never going to do that much terrain by hand again. So and that's the primary goal of the majority of Shark Mounted Laser stuff is to be affordable and durable, as well as really easily playable. So
and you've been doing really well with shark-mounted lasers.
thank you.
Um, Segue a little bit. Now you are branching out a little bit more, and you now have I guess, a partnership with some other terrain manufacturers in the U.S.
Well, we yes and no.
All right.
First of all, we have a partnership with Green Man Designs, and they do a lot of our acrylic stuff for us. So our Infinity templates and that sort of thing, we've been working through them. So that's been kind of nice. They do some really quality stuff over there. Um, in terms of the larger partnership, we've partnered up with a print company called Aardvark Graphic Solutions. And it's one of the premier large format printing companies here in Colorado. They do all of the printing for like the National Park Service, all of their outdoor signage and that sort of thing. So I've teamed up with Torrin Reed. He's the owner of Aardvark, and we've created Hexagon Mill to bring the technologies he has and the experience he has to the terrain world. So right now we've combined we have over $100,000 worth of terrain making shenanigans. We're getting into 3D printing, so
Oh, that's exciting.
yeah. one of his other companies, Hangar 18 Miniatures, recently did a Kickstarter for some World War II pinups. So he's gotten his feet wet in the digital sculpting arena, and we're with Hexagon Mill. We're also looking to start doing some models and that sort of thing. The first one is for those of you who watch the Super Bowl, you might remember.
Oh, I know exactly where this is going.
Yes, so Katy Perry's halftime show was the infamous left shark. So that's going to be a high value target coming to a table near you soon.
Quite appropriate for shark-mounted lasers.
Right, right.
So the Hexagon Mill is this new company that you formed alongside with, I guess, Green Man Gaming. You mentioned
No. With Aardvark.
Aardvark.
Yep.
Okay, with Aardvark.
Green Man is more of
separate?
a partner, not
Okay.
or an associate, not an actual partner.
Business partner. Gotcha. Okay. So with Aardvark printing then.
Yes.
And so your main lure of this new terrain is that it's pre-painted, right?
Correct. So this is something that's really exciting. We are doing all of our terrain. It's going to be printed on both sides. It's printed on a huge flatbed printer using some really durable UV inks. So they have the same durability that you'd expect out of shark-mounted lasers terrain, but basically you're able to take them out of the box, put them together, and you're done.
Because they're all pre-painted.
They're all pre-painted. And additionally, with our first line that we're actually kickstarting here soon, and I can go into some of the nuance of that in a moment.
EM soon.
Exactly. It's all flat pack terrain as well. So, for example, when I went down to the Rumble on Route 66, I was able to fit everything in a 4-inch by 18-inch by 12-inch box for 2 tables worth of terrain. So, really handy for those people who don't necessarily have a game store that will hold their terrain for them.
Yeah.
Or if they're traveling to a lot of tournaments and that, it's nice to be able to put it in your carry-on and be able to go. So,
For example, Gen Con or something, where somebody is maybe bringing some terrain.
Con? Yeah, no, we're definitely trying to get some presence at Gen Con. I think that I'm going to be helping out you more at the Gen Con booth, running demos and that sort of thing. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Anyone watching, if you're going out to Gen Con, definitely come hit us up at the open play area. I guess it's a large warehouse.
Yeah, we'll be there, and then also I think we'll also be on the floor.
Oh yeah, on the floor
of the vendors hall. So definitely stop by and give us a chat.
Say hi to those of us working for Datasphere. I think it's actually just going to be me for Datasphere.
Datasphere.
But there's a lot of war cores working there, and Corvus Belli will be there too. You can see them at the Warsenal Corvus Belli booth, like a combination thing.
Synergy.
And if you're looking for a demo, there are also some tickets that you can buy for open gaming, and just give us some of those, and we can run you just some demos over in the open gaming area.
Correct.
I think we'll have another area, I assume. Probably in the same area? The same?
It depends on how they did it this year. Gen Con is a fickle beast.
Yes, it is. Especially that event registration.
Yeah, we'll just
We'll leave that. We'll leave that aside.
That's trying to be a vendor.
Gosh, I can't imagine. So with Hexagon Mill and Shark-mounted lasers now, speaking of Gen Con, would you be perhaps considering becoming a vendor over at Gen Con? Maybe a combination with Warsenal or Corvus Belli?
Well, not this year. At the immediate moment, I was trying to get a space at Gen Con with Grex airbrushes as well as Shark-mounted lasers to do some stuff there. But due to the it's the biggest darn gaming convention in the world, so it's a little easier said than done to get in. But definitely in the coming years, we hope to have a presence there.
I look forward to that.
So,
do you happen to have any, I guess, sample product of the Hexagon Mill stuff on you right now?
You know, that would be really convenient and make a lot of sense, considering this is a Hexagon Mill interview. Unfortunately, we just sent out all of our demo stuff.
Oh.
It's used at all of the game stores here locally. So I believe there's a game store down in Boulder that had a bunch of new people who wanted to play. So we sent it down there tonight with them. So unfortunately, I don't have... any that I can think of.
No.
I'm I'm all looking around. It would take me a while to dig some out.
All
So
right, all right. So from your experience with terrain making in general, uh, Hexagon Mill stuff. From when I played it with it at Rumble, I actually played 2 games, I believe, on that terrain. It seems really durable,
mhm.
but I mean,
So
it still looks really good.
yeah, so that's one thing that's really neat about being able to print them all is we can put textures and all that sort of stuff that make them look super sharp. Yet at the crux of the design, we've tried to keep it as simple as possible in order to make it easily flat pack, as well as simplicity kind of comes with durability. And yeah, so the combination there, trying to balance those two things, has turned out really nicely with the um, Hexagon Mill stuff.
So to branch off a little bit on that and go off that. So right now, a lot of the designs are really rather rudimentary for the Hexagon Mill. Are you considering maybe making some more complicated and intricate pieces that maybe you'd have to glue together and take advantage of those textures?
So yes, the our initial purview, of course, is to create the basically a proof of concept for the industry that, and we our designer for that line, his name is Owen Keating out of New York. He has been working very tirelessly to create something that's modular. Yes, it's relatively rudimentary, but again, it kind of depends on what our objectives were. And for this line, it was definitely something that was simple, elegant, and easy. With future lines coming from Hexagon Mill, yes, you'll definitely be seeing things that you'll need to glue that won't be flat pack, that will actually bring in some other materials. So, for example, we're working with a casting company.
Oh, that's
So,
exciting. So,
uh,
like a resin casting?
correct, there will be resin components. Uh, there are even some stuff in the early prototype stages of being able to pre-paint three-dimensional structures. So,
Hmm.
and this is all very preliminary in that regard, but we definitely have some really cool stuff coming down uh, as well as we move forward with Hexagon Mill. The idea of it eventually is to be basically exclusively that, the more boutique terrain where you're really getting something that is a centerpiece for your table that you don't have to paint as well. So
It's always nice to be able to get something, put it together, and just immediately put it on a table, and it looks amazing.
exactly, exactly. So
I have a lot of unpainted terrain that can attest to that.
yeah.
Well, I
In
mean,
fact, the Hexagon Mill table is the only table I've ever finished painting.
it
So,
helps when you have a machine painted for you.
well, exactly. So,
Now there's you mentioned the Kickstarter that you're doing.
correct. So, originally it was supposed to launch yesterday, May 12th. Uh, of course, it is now May 13th, and there is no sign of it. This was done very deliberately. Well, what it came down to, we really want to be able to launch the Kickstarter and get the product to the customer as soon as possible. And with that, we're trying to secure the materials before we actually launch the Kickstarter itself. And by secure, I mean secure their existence. Um, Due to the way that, or due to our process, using the laser, the printer's inks, and all that sort of stuff, there's a lot of logistics that must go into it in finding something that has excellent durability as well as great adhesiveness in terms of the ink staying on it. So we're trying to nail down a product that is absolutely perfect for this line before we even launch the Kickstarter. So one of the clients we were working out of, they're up in Oregon. They had some hiccups with their initial process. So hopefully here in the next few weeks, we'll be hearing back from them as well as some of our other sources with some good news in that front. But that's something we're really trying with this Kickstarter. We're keeping it relatively simple. So there are going to be a relatively few number of different packages that you can choose from.
Okay.
Each of those packages are going to get, whenever there's a stretch goal, for example, every package will get that stretch goal in some quantity. So we're keeping it very simple. So logistically speaking, it's easy on our end to be able to ship it out as soon as we have it manufactured. Um, so
That is a problem with a lot of Kickstarters is they come out and they get funded, but then they take forever to actually deliver the quality product that that they got funded for. The logistics does seem to be a big issue for that. I'm glad you guys are
yeah,
picking that out beforehand.
exactly. We're already trying, or I mean, we've already nailed down working out shipping. That's always a big problem that Kickstarters have. Complexity is always a huge issue. Right now, we're trying to tackle the EU-friendly nature of the Kickstarter. One of the big issues is because it's so heavy, it's we're running into some interesting complications on that front. But we're definitely trying to nail down all of the things we can before it starts. And that's one of the nice things. My partner Tori, he has done Kickstarter before, so he knows what to expect. That's kind of nice.
That is very nice to have. I've seen a lot of people go Kickstarter with no not as much preparation, and it's never ended up that great. But
Yeah.
glad to see you guys have got that all sorted out. So on the Black Friday, you guys had a bunch of deals on shark-mounted lasers, like the infamous or famous, depending on which side of the ocean you're on, Murica set.
Correct. The Murica set.
Yep. So will you be doing something similar like that in your Kickstarter for Hexagon?
Yeah, so actually, that's how we're basically tiering the tables in a way. And again, we're still kind of nailing down some of the final numbers on that. We want to be able to have some concrete numbers on the material so we can, price and configure our packages accordingly. But it's basically going to be the same thing. So you're going to get either like a quarter of a table, a half of a table, a Murica table, or a Euro table, or a Murica table. Those are kind of the ideas we're sticking with. Is something that's you know exactly what you're getting. If you're playing in Europe, boom, you're good to go with this set. If you really want a dense table, you can go with this.
Dense all the way.
Yeah. Well, that's one really cool thing with the line itself is it allows for a lot of stackability. So just last week we were playing on a 4-story tall table.
Really?
So that was intense. But it was cool because the way the ladders and the modularity of it, it actually worked out really nicely and was very playable.
So did you have at Rumble you had some bridges, you had some really short bridges, and you had some like sort of medium length bridges. Are you having longer bridges as well as part of that to make the kind of multi-tier combat more feasible?
Well, what we've done so far, we have the shorter bridges, which are about 6 inches, and alongside those, there are walls that can actually be affixed between the larger square building structures themselves. So you can have very polished-looking buildings, even though they're modular. So we have 6-inch bridges and 12-inch bridges. Anything beyond that, the difficulty becomes shipping again, because
right.
you're starting to have to send tubes and that sort of stuff. Additionally, because of the flat pack nature of them, any longer than that, and you start to run into some durability issues. That being said, the 12-inch bridges offer a lot of gap there. So we might do something like an 18-incher, but anything beyond that gets to be a logistical nightmare.
Now, how wide are these bridges, and are you considering accommodating for like 40 mil and 55 mil bases and infinity bridges?
So actually, that's something we've sent back to the designer, like, oh, hey, we need this modified. So the bridges themselves are going to be workable to a 40 millimeter base. They're coming out to about 42 millimeters, so in case you have a slightly larger base or a scenic base with some outcrops, that sort of thing, you can still put those on the bridges.
So,
50,
no.
well, I don't think that building designers anticipate giant robots marching around on their bridges between buildings.
They might consider a motorcycle. I'm not saying I'm biased or anything, but they might consider a motorcycle.
Well, I'm just saying that a motorcycle can jump 8 inches now, which is enough to clear that gap pretty confidently.
If there were perhaps a
Ramp?
ramp.
No, that's another thing we've been listening to the clients, and one of the things we've heard a lot, and it might
Clients.
have been from you a lot, was the necessity of ramps and that sort of stuff. So that's definitely something you might be seeing down the road with our Kickstarter.
There might be, I don't know, one or two happy fans. I don't know if that were to be a thing.
Maybe, maybe so.
We'll see in the future, I suppose. Do you have a price point maybe for these buildings that you have for Hexagon?
It depends on the size. For our smaller buildings, pre-painted and everything, we're probably looking around a $20 price point. For a medium building, so you're looking 12 inches by 6 inches, somewhere in there, probably around 30. And then for a large 12 by 12 pre-painted, probably 35, 40, somewhere in there. So
And this is not the Kickstarter prices, right? These are
yeah,
just the actual retail.
those are final retail prices. The Kickstarter will, of course, come with some perks in that regard.
More incentive,
Exactly,
of course.
exactly. But considering what you can get on the market now for $20, being able to get something pre-painted and all of that
Is
is
a very nice. Do you have any I don't know, hints maybe about what we could expect for stretch goals and things like that before you have the Kickstarter go live?
well. We posted a hint on the Hexagon Mill Facebook page that you were kind of excited about. There were some armored parapets and that sort of stuff that made them look surprisingly similar to a pagoda, and that sort of thing. So we have some of those sort of things uh, in the pipes. We also have scatter terrain, so pre-painted scatter terrain coming down the pipes as well. Uh,
Crates or something like that?
well, crates, barricades is one, and we had those at the Rumble. We had some
Hmm.
barricades, and those are kind of nice because those are actually printed acrylic, so you get a holographic effect with those. So we're definitely going to be making signs and that sort of thing that you can actually put on the sides of your buildings.
Like billboards and things like that?
Exactly, exactly. Billboards, the whole Monty. So definitely have some cool stuff in that regard as well.
Sounds really great. I'm even more excited than I was before, if that's believable.
The other cool thing that we're working on is so Hexagon Mill right now actually has a few mats published. So they're the 4 foot by 4 foot neoprene mats, and we're really working to make those
That mouse pad material, right?
exactly that mouse pad material. We're actually making those to uh, fit the terrain itself. So, say you're getting a Neo Tokyo painted building set, you can get later down the road a mat that actually matches the color scheme and the schematics of that line. So you have a very cohesive, finished, polished looking table.
Now, I just heard you say Neo Tokyo. I don't believe that fits the current design that I've seen.
Maybe it has. There's something else coming down the road.
That's exciting. That's very exciting.
So, yeah, no, we have some. That's something that we're really working on getting as well. Is a lot more mats and that sort of thing. Um, that are one of our big pushes there was, for example, a lot of the mats that are currently on the market. They look great, very durable, all that sort of thing, but they have roads and just these things that can make actually setting up a table kind of a pain in the butt. There isn't much. You can't put a building in the middle of the road.
Really restricting, of course, yes.
Block line of sight. So we're trying to make stuff that is very playable and still look good and make sense.
So something more open and free form in terms of like the design of where buildings and like that could be.
Exactly, exactly. So, like a StarCraft interior that doesn't necessarily have any of those very specific defining locations. Yet once you put buildings on it and everything, it really
Starts to come together.
draws the picture. Exactly.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that's great. Um, I'm pretty excited about those neoprene mats actually, because most of the ones that we have available to us in the States are imported from somewhere else, and that makes it kind of expensive.
Yeah, so not only are they imported, but they're also a good majority of them are manufactured in China or whatever. We've actually been very meticulous in sourcing both our material and then, of course, all of the labor and everything is done here domestically. We're getting our neoprene from a company in Taiwan that just in terms of durability and how long they last and UV resistance, all that sort of stuff, they've really come out leaps and bounds ahead. So it's a little bit more expensive, but we're really trying to deliver premier products.
That's good. I've always seen these really nice mats that always end up furled or frayed or whatever at the ends, and it's just it's really a shame. So if you the more higher quality mats, the better, because I feel like those are probably the things that experience the most wear and tear throughout its
Exactly.
life.
Exactly. Well, you're literally moving, metal miniatures around on it with pointy spears and stuff. It's inevitable that they're, going to get the brunt of the damage. In fact, one of our guys locally uses them as his wife was getting tired of him scratching his dining room table with his minis. So, you know,
Played
it's
it on.
act yeah, if that was a problem, then inherently the mats are going to encounter that same sort of issue. So.
Well, that's very very enticing. So you'll have the mats and the buildings to potentially put out a whole table's worth, even America density, for fairly affordable, and it'll set up real quick. And you can even have multiple designs that go on top and textures.
Yes, yes. So this is something that we're doing that is relatively unprecedented. In fact, I don't know of any other Kickstarter that's done something similar, terrain or otherwise. So we're initially launching with a few different designs, some of which has been hinted on at various tournaments and that sort of stuff, as well as some new designs. Additionally, during the campaign, we are going to be launching a 99 designs contest. And what this will allow people to do is it will allow individuals like yourself who want to take a hand at texturing some of our buildings. You can actually submit it to this contest. It's a paid contest, so the winner actually, is going to get some fruits for his labor. Additionally, all of the community who is backing the Kickstarter, or even not, just people who are following us, will be able to vote for their favorite terrain package or texture pack, and that itself will be available for you to choose as one of your Kickstarter rewards. So that's something that's really cool and relatively unprecedented. We're really trying to get the community involved with that.
That sounds really really fun. Are you want to give maybe perhaps more hints about what we currently have seen? So if somebody wants to get a head start on those designs that they have.
Sure. Well, right now, the two that are very concretely confirmed, we have one that is a very crisp uh, white, um, very modern looking kind of Aleph-esque terrain table, and that's what we saw at the Rumble on Route 66. Hexagonal roofs, very
Mm.
Infinity-esque and that sort of thing. The other one is more of um, a grungy, grimdark, not necessarily 40K grimdark, but more of a sewer or a industrial complex sort of look.
So
So
not
you're looking
quite
at
skulls, right?
no skulls, no skulls, but definitely rust and grime, slime, so on and so forth. So those are the two that are definitely prepared and everything. Uh, we're working on more of a Asian aesthetic, which is kind of exciting. And I've been playing around with a Hawk Islam board, but I'm kind of inept when it comes to textures, which is another reason we want to take advantage of the community out there. There's some great texture designers out there. And just artists in general. I mean, you guys are painting all your stuff, and that there has to be. I imagine you guys have other talents beyond the tabletops, so kind of exciting to take it.
Talents. That's not what my parents call them, but So all that said, when is the current prospective start of the new Kickstarter then?
Well, honestly, it's as soon as we get some concrete information back from our distributor of the wood. It's actually being completely manufactured here. A material like it is unprecedented, as well as some of the films and stuff that we require during the lasering process to keep the edges from being marred or from exhaust fumes, which cause darkening in that on the other edge. all of these processes are adding up, and we had to basically engineer a completely new product. So literally, the moment we get word on that, we'll be able to launch. And that's the main reason that we're doing this in a Kickstarter format, is in order to get uh, a product like that manufactured in total, the quantities that are required are it outdoes everything that I've ever had to do with shark mounted lasers. So we're talking, freight loads, train cars, like ridiculous quantities that we simply can't front initially, especially with all of the equipment expenditures we have to begin with. So that's why we're doing the Kickstarter, is to make the materials a reality. So
So the Kickstarter money is going almost entirely to the materials then?
yes, it is going directly to the materials in that. Um, so
That's great. Now, what about availability of this stuff? I guess the whole package
sure.
to across seas and the other communities outside of America, maybe even in Canada and the South America area.
Sure, sure. So, first of all, one thing that we're going to be limiting the number of packages at each step. Basically, what that allows us to do is control it from, there have been some really fantastically successful Kickstarters that have been mired by difficulty because it outpaced what they could do. We're taking that into account, and we want to have realistic goals, as well as realistic shipping dates, all of that sort of stuff. So each package initially is going to have a run of 30 to 50, however it logistically ends up being. Um, then we're going to release another wave, basically, of backer goals that will have a later shipping date. So uh, in that regard, we'll probably have 200 packages ranging from delivery in August, or again, a lot of this is still, we're waiting on the material before we can nail any of these completely down, because we don't know how they'll work on the laser, blah blah blah.
Right, right.
Uh, in terms of international backers, as I said, we're really trying to make this EU friendly as we can, um, but that's been mired with difficulties as well. Just in order to ship it over there flat pack, say via USPS, we'd be looking on a large table's worth still around $80.
Wow.
That's without any sort of the VAT taxes or anything that they might have to deal with. We're in preliminary talks with some freight forwarders and that sort of thing over in England that will hopefully help us mitigate those issues, uh, as well as some distributor talks as well. And that is probably the most logistically sound way that we're going to do it, because we're hoping to have these shipped out relatively quickly and have these into our web store soon. Hopefully, we're able to get them into the distributors' hands soon as well. So that will really open up the market internationally. So even if we can't figure it out to be the most friendly to the European backers on the outset or on the onset, at the back end, you guys are covered.
It's good to hear, and that's true. That's reassuring for our friends across the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, does that also include Australia? Because I know they have some good terrain options, but I'm sure they could use some more.
Yeah, so I actually traveled to GAMA, which is the Game Trade Association big convention. So all of the big manufacturers were there: Wizards of the Coast, Reaper Miniature, blah blah blah. Just all of the giants in the manufacturing world, um, and talked. Of course, all of the distributors were there. So we've talked with distributors in Europe, in Australia, in Singapore, in South America, in Canada, as well as here in the United States. So yes, Australia is definitely covered in our long term, hopefully being short-term plan.
Gotcha. How soon after the Kickstarter, when it finishes, will you expect the product to go live on your store or like maybe
Well,
inside of other distributors?
sure. Well, obviously, we want to have all packages, domestic and worldwide, shipped before we offer it for sale domestically. I'm a really big fan of fairness in that regard. If you paid for it, and especially when you're very concretely paying for us to get the materials and that sort of stuff, you were integral in the actual creation of this product. So you deserve it first. So that being said, it kind of depends on how big the Kickstarter goes itself. Even though we're limiting it, it might still be 6 months, 7 months, 8 months until all of the product is shipped. That being said, we're hoping to maybe get it in before the end of the year into our actual web store for people who weren't lucky enough to get on the Kickstarter a go at it.
But probably a safe bet that it'll be available in 2016.
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, no, we want it to be out of our warehouse by the end of 2015, period. So.
And so you've shown this terrain obviously to Corvus Belli themselves. Carlos saw it in person at the Rumble. Did they have anything to say? Feel like sharing?
Well, there might be some further talks going on about maybe bringing us into the fold of Corvus Belli as an official terrain associate. Again, we're in relatively rudimentary talks, but we have a pretty close just friendship in general with a lot of the guys over there. And I'm heading to Spain for the Interplanetary as well. So hopefully that will give us time to sit down and maybe talk further on that sort of possibility.
That's over in July, correct? Or is that August?
You'd think I'd know better because it's going to Europe. I think it's... That's a good question. Yeah, it's this summer. It's definitely this summer.
Well, Gen Con happens at the end of July. Will you be attending?
I might be. We went over this at the top. How I'm going to be helping you out.
Yeah.
At the booth.
Yes.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be there.
That's good to hear. If I have any more questions for you, do you have anything else you'd like to mention about Hexagon Mill or shark-mounted lasers, or maybe the Krug or anything?
Sure. Well, the biggest thing I'd really recommend is if you haven't already checked out our Facebook page. That's where we're going to really have a lot of these interactions initially taking place. So, the announcement of the launch, the sharing of the designs via our design contest, some of the stretch goal leaks and that sort of stuff. So if you haven't already, definitely check out facebook.com/hexagonmill. I'd also encourage you, if you haven't, to check out Shark Mounted Lasers, home of the Murica table for 175 American bills.
The only currency.
Now that the Euro crisis is going.
We didn't say that.
So I'd check those out. Obviously, if you're a big Infinity player, I'd check out the Krug podcast, of which I am one of the hosts. And that's just the Krug. It's facebook.com/the Krug.
Important note, that is a not safe for work podcast, so take care.
Correct. It is a little. We warn you at the top, but sometimes some things sneak out that we probably shouldn't say. Additionally, here soon, I am launching a podcast myself called Audio Tactica. And what it is going to be is a more directed podcast at specific armies. So we're going to be diving into the nuance of individual army lists. The first one being the Imperial Service. So we're going to be, what troops do we like? What synergies are there in these armies? And how do you participate in ITS tournaments with those very specific armies? So whereas the Krug is more of a broad base, here's what we think of this mission. How do we play this mission? Audio Tactica is going to go in bi-weekly, hopefully, and go into each of the individual armies themselves.
And when do you expect to be launching that podcast?
Well, the first episode itself is already recorded. It's just been a matter of editing. The same issue here has been with the Krug. I am an atrocious editor. So
that explains the delays.
Well, people think I love listening to myself, and I do. But anymore, it's like, whew, shut up, Dexter. But so it's really a matter of just getting them edited. So again, trademark soon.
Soon. So I think that's it. Do you have any ways for people to contact you outside of Facebook and such if they want to have any questions?
Yeah, so feel free to, if you're on the Facebook itself. I am more than happy to friend you on Facebook. I'm Dexter Schiller, and that's usually the most direct way to get a hold of me. I'm notorious for being atrocious at emailing. However, if you'd like to send an email to be sent into the perilous void that is my server, you could reach me at admin@sharkmountedlasers.com.
And hopefully they get a response.
You know, theoretically, it's kind of it's science.
For science.
Definitely science happens. Whatever the case, thank you very much for bringing me on. I'd like to thank Datasphere for that. We also have a forum section in the Datasphere forum shenanigans.
That you do under Shark Mounted Lasers.
As well as Hexagon Mill.
Yes, yes.
It doesn't have any posts yet. I should probably get on that.
That might help a little bit.
But thank you for all you guys are doing for the Infinity community. I'm really loving all the blog posts, as well as just supporting all of the secondary terrain vendors, as well as the different podcasts and that. You've been a great asset to the greater Infinity community.
Don't mention it. That's a lot of that's on Scorch, not on me. But thank you, Dexter, for coming on with us. And I had a sign off that I was going to say, and then I forgot about it. Give me a moment.
Okay.
Right. So, this has been Datasphere. I'm Claudia Soul. This is Dexter Schiller, and I hope you enjoyed the interview.
Thank you again.